Hi, everyone. My name is Jasenia Cadena, and I'm one of the assistant deans for undergraduate education at Rutgers School of Engineering. On Saturday, April 4th, we had a chance to hold 3 student panels. Unfortunately, for our practical experiences panel, we had some technical difficulties and we weren't able to hear audio. However, we did have over 200 participants and a great team of student panelists that were answering questions in the Q&A box, and we were able to get to everyone's questions. But what we wanted to do, in case you weren't able to listen in or see the Q&A box, or perhaps you weren't able to attend on that day, we wanted to still give our student panelists a chance to share their stories with you and hopefully answer the questions that you have about practical experiences within engineering. So the way we're going to do this is we're going to have our panelists introduce themselves to you, and then we're going to ask them questions that were very popular during the actual session, and hopefully you'll feel very satisfied with what we have to share. So let's begin. I can please have our panelists introduce themselves and remember to turn on your cameras. We'll start with Admika.
Hi everyone, my name is Atmika and my hometown is Flemington, New Jersey. I'm currently a junior studying electrical and computer engineering, which is the study of computer and hardware network systems. I'm also doing a minor in computer science, which has allowed me to learn all the necessary software skills in order to better understand the hardware systems that I mentioned earlier. The summer after my freshman year, I worked on a research project at the Rutgers Wireless Information Networking Lab. And this past summer, I participated in the STEP internship program at Google in New York City. There, I got to work on a team within research and machine intelligence and got to create my own prototype of a new Android feature. This experience gave me more confidence in my networking skills and my ability to pick up new skills quickly. Thank you.
Thank you, Admika. Cassidy?
Hello, my name is Cassidy Schneider, and I'm a master's student in environmental engineering, and I did my bachelor's in bioenvironmental engineering, which is now just called environmental engineering at Rutgers. My hometown is Long Valley, New Jersey. It is in the middle of nowhere. Environmental engineering is a really fun interdisciplinary major where you get to learn about different processes and ideas, how they interact with the world, and how you can use them creatively to make the ways that we interact with the environment more sustainable. In my undergrad, I was a peer academic leader for Douglas Women's College, and I was involved in Rutgers Students for Environmental and Energy Development. In my undergrad, I also researched with Professor Fennell, working to cultivate microbes that could break down toxic compounds. And I expanded on my microbiology knowledge one summer when I worked in Germany with Dr. Uta Lechner at University of Martin Luther. From this experience, I learned that though it's really difficult sometimes to leave your comfort zone, when you do and you push through that self-doubt and uncertainty, you're much more capable than you ever thought possible.
Thanks, Cassidy. Katherine?
Hi, my name is Katherine Dr Gill. I'm from Chatham, New Jersey, a sophomore, and I'm majoring in mechanical engineering and I'm minoring in computer science. Mechanical engineering basically teaches you different engineering physics principles that you can take into the real world to design and manufacture different mechanical systems, like cars and planes or solar panels. My top 2 involvements on campus are AIAA, which is a competition RC plane building club, and the Rutgers Fencing Club. I currently do research with Dr. Singer's hybrid micro and nano manufacturing lab. My research involves electrospray deposition, which is a micro-coating technique. One practical experience I got from the lab was learning how to code in more niche engineering-specific languages. For example, I had to code an automated spray chamber in my research lab in LabVIEW. Most people think of Java and C++ when they think about programming languages, but other languages such as LabVIEW and MATLAB can be really useful in lab and industry settings.
Thanks, Katherine. Christian?
Hello, everybody. My name is Christian Mundalo. I'm from Kenilworth, New Jersey, and I'm a junior in packaging engineering. So real quick, packaging engineering is not just about designing boxes. A lot of our students actually go on to design cosmetic packaging, medical device packaging, as well as food and pharmaceuticals. My involvements on our campus are with the Office of Leadership and Experiential Learning, as well as the Violence Prevention and Victim Assistance programs. The summer after my sophomore year, I was able to intern at Stryker in Mahwah, New Jersey, which is a medical device company, where I got to help verify over 3,000 products worth of the packaging configurations that had to meet some international standards that summer. I'm also currently an intern with the Alternative Breaks program, which is a service learning org, where we send over 200 students over the course of the school year to different sites to deal with specific social justice issues. And from my Stryker experience, I can say that on the professional side, I was able to gain a lot of confidence in presenting my work as I had to do that over the summer to some executive board members. And on the personal side, I was able to develop my networking skills so that I would not lose touch with my coworkers there. Thank you.
Thank you, Christian. Dahani.
Hi, my name is Dahani, and I'm a sophomore majoring in mechanical engineering, and I'm from Robbinsville, New Jersey. Mechanical engineering is basically an application of math, physics, and material science to design and make mechanical systems like engines or like turbines. But at Rutgers, I'm a part of an engineering club called Rutgers Formula Racing, which is a project team of both engineers and non-engineers that collaborate on a yearly build of like a formula style race car to compete against other universities around the world. Last summer, I had the opportunity to intern at NAVSEA, which is an engineering division for the US Navy. And this coming summer, I will be interning at Lockheed Martin, which is another defense slash aerospace company.
Awesome. Elizabeth.
Hi everyone, I'm Elizabeth DeFazio and I'm from Boundbrook, New Jersey, and I'm a sophomore majoring in chemical engineering. Chemical engineering is all about taking small processes and scaling them up to an industrial level. On campus, I'm involved with the Society of Women Engineers as well as the Society of Plastic Engineers, and I'm also an undergraduate research assistant in a nanoparticle lab. From last July to this January, I was a supply chain analyst co-op at Johnson & Johnson. Supply chain is all about making the process of procurement, manufacturing, and delivery of products more efficient. The biggest takeaway I got from this experience was really improving my data analytic abilities through different softwares and different organization of data. It helped save the company a lot of time, money, and resources. And it was just really great as an engineer to get that exposure to the business side of a company because not a lot of engineers get to see that. Thank you.
Thank you. Krishna.
Hi, my name is Krishna and I'm from Marlborough, New Jersey, and I'm majoring in material science and engineering, which is all about understanding the properties, composition, and structure of materials for industries like biomaterials, electronics, consumer goods, and more. So on campus, I conduct research on 3D printing, and this past summer, I interned at Croda where I worked with color cosmetics like pigments and glitters for formulating products like cosmetics, foundations, and more. And with this opportunity, I learned how to adapt and communicate ideas effectively in both independent and collaborative settings in a space that I'm really interested in. Thank you.
Thank you. Madara.
Hey everyone, my name is Madara and I'm a senior studying biomedical engineering with a minor in mathematics. As biomedical engineering students, our role is to use engineering to help improve healthcare, and this can take shape in many different ways. So I personally got involved with research my sophomore year as an arrestee student in the School of Public Health, so totally separate from School of Engineering, and then later joined a lab within my major doing tissue engineering. I really think that the research that I did on campus is what helped me get my internships. So 2 summers ago, I was at Colgate-Palmolive, and then just this last summer, I was at Merck. Very interested in medical devices, and that's what I hope to pursue in the future. My major takeaway from my internships and what I really loved was taking what I learned in the classroom and applying it to a hands-on experience.
Thanks, Madara. And last but certainly not least, Xiaofeng.
Hi everyone, my name is Xiaofeng. I'm an international student from China. I'm senior and my major is civil engineering. So civil engineers work on different projects that include like planning, building bridges, or like water systems, while architects work primarily with like houses, factories, and similar structures. So on campus, I worked in the civil lab with RIME Group. It's the Rutgers Infrastructure Monitoring and Evaluation Group. And we have a bunch of projects. I made cages for the recast project, which aim to develop like new materials, crack-free deck, and damage repair. And I also did like CTM test and fringe shrinkage test to help the study of the advanced concrete. Working in the civil lab really provided me like lots of field experiences about like civil engineering. I also did like marketing intern in Accenture, which enhanced my communication and analytical skills. And these skills really helped me to find the full-time job in MediaSoft as a marketing role. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Xiaofeng. Okay, folks, so let's jump into some questions. We'll start with research, since a lot of you seem to have jumped off from there into your internships and co-ops. So how early can a student get involved with research on campus? Catherine, would you like to start us off?
Sure, yeah. So you can get started pretty much as soon as you get on campus. There are a couple of different ways that you can get into a lab. You can choose to maybe email a professor, but there are also things like a RESTI that you can apply for. So for me, when I started my research, I started it my summer after my freshman year, and you can apply for this program where they pay you to do research basically throughout the entirety of the summer, and you apply in January. And for me, I started working in my lab then in around April, and so that way I was ready by the time the summer came along to actually start doing research. But I knew of kids who got started even earlier. They just emailed professors in September and got started in labs in even November of their freshman year.
Krishna, would you like to add to that?
Yeah, so I'm one of those like few kids where I basically emailed the professor. I didn't have class with him or anything yet. I just knew that he was a professor in the material science and engineering department. And what I did was I went online, and his research really interested me on 3D printing. So I emailed him, and he was really receptive, and he understood that we're all just looking for opportunities to learn and grow, and that we may not have like the experience, but they're there to give you that guiding hand through it all. So you can definitely get research like as early as your freshman year, or you could do it even after.
Thank you both. Okay, let's talk about how can students conduct research in fields outside of their field of study? So I believe Madara had mentioned she started in public health. Would you like to talk about how you gained that experience and what you took away from it?
So I joined the RESTI program that is specifically meant for students who have never done research before. So I personally came into college never having an experience in research from high school, and I wanted the structure of the RESTI program to help me get involved. So the way the RESTI program works is that you apply to 3 professors of projects that you are interested in, and then the professors will interview you and you will get matched to a project that you like to work on for the entire year. So that's how I got paired with something totally outside of my major, and it was a great exposure, first off to research in general, and secondhand to something out of my major that I wouldn't have been able to do otherwise.
And how about you, Admika? Would you like to add?
I mean, I can add that like one of the biggest advantages of Rutgers being such a large university is that we have access to not only resources within the School of Engineering, where it's like unlimited. We can reach out to professors within any of the schools and any of the majors. So that kind of is what makes it possible for us as engineering students to do research in any discipline that we want to.
Cassidy, would you mind talking a little bit more about your experience abroad?
Yeah, sure. So as has been mentioned before, research is like broad, and people can work in a bunch of different types of areas that are outside of their area of that they're studying, because they get to bring a different perspective to that field. But also, not only are you bringing a different perspective to that field is bringing a different perspective to you to help you on your way of study. So for me, I worked with Professor Fennell looking at what's called bioremediation. So it's the breakdown of toxic compounds in sediments, or it could be in any medium. So when I was growing these cultures that were breaking down what's called trichloroethene, my professor, after maybe a year and a half or so of working with her, she knew somebody who was doing something that professor also did bioremediation, but she did it in more microbiological perspective on it. So she did what's called a pure culture. So I was working with mixed cultures, which is a more engineering approach because it's less specific, but it's more focused on treatment, whereas microbiology is more focused on understanding the ins and outs of those microbes. So my professor knew that I could expand my knowledge by working with this professor, and it would be a great experience. So I worked with her for one summer because my professor reached out to this person and was able to help me facilitate working in that lab. And by working in that lab, not only did I gain that knowledge of microbiology, but also I took a different perspective into the lab, and I was able to troubleshoot a piece of equipment that they had by running an experiment and going back and forth and trying to figure out the best way to use samples on this piece of equipment. So that's why interdisciplinary research, people often feel like they have to come into something knowing everything, but you don't. Often the fact that you don't know everything about that field means you know about something else, and you can bring that into what you're doing. So people actually find it very valuable to do that interdisciplinary research, and most good research is interdisciplinary, and professors know people from other kinds of labs and backgrounds. So just ask professors that you work with and see if there's a new topic or perspective that you might want to take.
Great point. So I kind of want to switch over gears a little bit and just talk to Dahani. It would be really, I get a lot of questions about how does someone join the Rutgers Formula Race team, and do you need to have prior experience? So could you tell us a little bit more about Rutgers RFR and how it works and how students learn while being part of the team?
Sure. So Rutgers Formula Racing is one of many project teams at Rutgers, and these design teams are very unique and valuable experience that basically gives you hands-on engineering experience that you might not necessarily get in a classroom. You get to learn a lot of technical skills in the process of designing, manufacturing, assembling, and testing an engineering product, in our case, a race car. And this experience is something a lot of engineering companies like to see when they're hiring interns or like full-time employees. So this is definitely a very useful this is very useful when trying to get your foot in the door for professional opportunities. In addition, there's like a large alumni network on these project teams of people that are already in, the professional workforce, and they can also help you try, land a job at these companies. And also even at competitions, like at Formula, there's the design portion of the events are usually judged by industry professionals from companies like Tesla, SpaceX, and they look out to hire people at these events, and sometimes they even offer jobs right on the spot at these events. So getting involved with these project teams is very easy at Rutgers. There's usually a club fair or some sort where all these clubs will come out and present, what they do, and then you can see which ones you're interested in, and then apply to these clubs.
And first years can join, Dahani?
Yeah. First years are welcome. A lot of these club teams are all full year for 4 years.
And could you talk a little bit more about the shop? Like what kind of equipment do you have? What can students do? You have any formal training that students have to go through?
Sure. So we have our own shop in the corner of like Bush campus, and we have our own machine shop with a bunch of machines like manual mills, CNC mills, lathes, and we also have individual rooms for different testing, so like engine testing, and then there's also like a room for like composite materials. So if you're interested in material science, we have that. So a lot of different things going on in the shop.
That's awesome. Thank you. Okay, so let's switch over to internships and co-ops. Madara, could you tell us a little bit about what resources there are on campus to help students find experiences or opportunities to apply?
Sure. So in terms of any resources that the campus has, there's tons of them that are available to students. So the first one being professors. You can always reach out to a professor and ask them about any connections that they might have with any alumni who are in various companies or just in general to get some career path advice. But also we specifically have the career services at Rutgers, which arranges career fairs every year. So in these career fairs, companies will specifically come to Rutgers to hire Rutgers students, which is a great opportunity to get your resume out there as early as possible and really meet people from those companies. But from career services, you could also get resume critiquing, and they also host various networking. The great thing about Rutgers is also that we have such a huge alumni network. So literally almost any company you can possibly think of has a Rutgers alumni, and they're more than willing to help you out, which I think is a great resource that we have. We also have the Rutgers Handshake website, which is kind of like our version of LinkedIn for an internal Rutgers website, which is very helpful in, again, networking and getting positions specifically for Rutgers students.
Thank you. Elizabeth, would you like to add to that?
Sure. So beyond career fairs, something that I also found really interesting and helpful that Rutgers has is they have a lot of information sessions where companies will specifically come onto campus and host an event at night for an hour or two to answer questions, to speak about their programs, and to even collect resumes and hire people directly from those info sessions. So sometimes those sessions are hosted by specific clubs, but they're welcome for anyone to go. And I think that's really great because you get to see someone from the company speak about what's important to them and how to find those opportunities. So I thought that the information sessions were really helpful that were hosted all throughout the year.
Thank you. Xiaofeng, as an international student, how did you go about finding your internship experiences and research?
Yeah, so for me, like the way for me to find the full-time job here is to using like the Rutgers resources, such as like making like a in-person appointment with the advisor, career advisors. I did it like this year, and it was really helpful. Like she helped me a lot, like with my resumes and how should my interviews should be. And also like Rutgers will provide you like an on-campus like interview, which means you don't have to go to the company. You can just come to the Rutgers, and the company will come to Rutgers, and you just have the interview there. And also the handshake is really helpful. I basically find the job through the handshake. And past few years, like the way that I found my internship is basically I went back to my hometown and get networking with my friends. And yes, networking is very important to look for the intern or like the job.
Thank you. So how easy is it? How realistic and possible is it for a student as early as their first year or sophomore year to get an internship? Krishna, would you like to comment?
Yeah, so it's definitely possible that you can get an internship your freshman year, but a lot of engineering students start their career path with research. And I know that's very well received by companies. And the reason why is because the skills you learn by doing research on campus, you'll see that they'll directly apply to an internship. For me personally, I got my first internship after my sophomore year, and the job search was made a lot easier because of Rutgers. Because of Rutgers resources like career services, I was able to prepare my resume really well, conduct mock interviews, and when I went to the career fair, that's where I met the company Crota, and I got to talk to them one-on-one, and that's how I got my internship. After that, they really liked my resume. They liked the previous research that I've done, and they basically called to set up an interview, and it went on from there.
Mika, so you mentioned that you interned at Google. Could you tell us a little bit about that process?
Yeah, so this kind of goes back to what Madara and Elizabeth were saying about clubs hosting company events on campus. So Google comes to campus several times throughout the year just to give information sessions, mock interview prep, and resume critiques similar to what Career Services does. But at one of these events, the Society of Women Engineers hosted an event where Google came to talk about the summer trainee engineering prep program, which is the STEP internship program. And this internship is meant specifically for freshmen and sophomores. So this is a trend that I've noticed with a lot of larger tech companies, is that they're trying to get in, they're trying to recruit freshmen and sophomores who have little to no prior experience. So after going to this event, I learned all about the application and interview process, and then I just applied online, and it just happened after that.
Could you tell us more about the internship itself and how that may have opened up doors for you afterwards?
Absolutely. So the internship itself was a software-based internship. So I was required to learn how to code in Android, which is Java, and I had no prior experience. So this made me a little bit nervous before I went in, and my managers assured me that I would get to learn everything. They had all the resources for me ready once I got there. And something that makes this STEP internship unique is that you get a partner and you get 2 managers. So you're working in a team of 4, and that's just, it's like very reassuring to get, it's like a nice feedback circle, and you have people to support you once you get there. And some of the doors that it opened for me afterwards was that I received a return offer to go back for this upcoming summer. I was supposed to go to London, but due to the circumstances, I'll be working from home, but I'm still really excited to have the opportunity to still learn new skills.
Good, Mika. Christian, would you also like to talk a little bit about your internship and what was the process for you?
Yeah, sure thing. So like I said before, I got to intern at Stryker in Mahwah, New Jersey. And that one honestly happened kind of randomly. I was just shooting my shot, throwing out my resume to as many companies as possible, and Stryker happened to like what they saw on my resume. The odd thing was that I didn't have any prior packaging experience. I just showed a lot of my soft skills in my resume, and they seemed to like that in the resume and in my interview. So I think like my process is a bit unconventional compared to what I've heard from other students, especially those who've also interned at Stryker. As for the Stryker experience itself, I can honestly say that was an amazing work culture. I've never seen like a more dedicated group of people all aim towards the same goal of making healthcare better for their customers. And the packaging team at Stryker was actually pretty small, so I got to make really good connections with them. And they did offer me a return position for this summer, but I had to decline because I will be actually co-oping at Mondelez for for the June to December period. But yeah, that's all I can say about my experience at Stryker.
Thanks, Christian. So for our friends back home, I just wanted to differentiate co-op from internship. So at Rutgers, an internship is usually a short-term commitment. Most of our students complete it over the summer, and it is attached with some compensation. So they earn a salary over the summer. Students can also intern during the year, and they could also do it as like part-time work, and they work their schedules with their employer. They could also earn credits for their internship towards their degrees if it has enough. It's evaluated, so the academic deans will review the work that they'll be doing and whether or not it will qualify for if it has enough academic depth for the students to apply what they learn in their internship to their actual degree. The co-op, however, is a little different. As Christian mentioned, he'll start this summer and run through December. So it's usually a 6-month commitment. It is also often for pay, and students also earn 6 credits towards their either department or technical electives within their major. So they do have someone in the department that will review their what they'll be doing, and there's usually a paper that they have to write connecting the academic pieces with the work experience. So there are options to do both at Rutgers, and it's completely available for within each of the majors. So since we're talking about co-ops, I think Elizabeth, you're class of 2022, which means you've gotten a co-op quite early. Could you talk more about how you were able to obtain it, and what it was like to balance out doing a co-op, which is usually full-time hours, or you can talk about how many hours you had to work every week, and your course load.
Yeah, of course. So I'm actually a bit of an untraditional student. So I transferred to Rutgers this last year. So I transferred in the fall, and my co-op was from last summer through the fall semester. So it was my first semester at Rutgers, and I was working 40 hours a week full time. So I got my co-op through networking. I knew someone at my community college who typically recruited different students for jobs, and someone from Johnson & Johnson came looking for an engineer, and I was the person that she suggested. So I was very fortunate in that way, and I always stress the importance of having a strong network and making sure that you're keeping in contact with people that are willing to help you. I thought that during my first semester, I took a lot of electives, which are online courses, while I was working full time because I didn't want to take a very heavy STEM course load. And I thought that last semester was probably the easiest for me in terms of the time commitment that I had. So I worked 40 hours a week. I was taking 3 classes online, and I still felt like I had more free time than I ever had when I was taking, a full course load of STEM classes. So it was a lot of fun for me, actually. I was able to join Society of Women Engineers at Rutgers, to get really involved on campus, to go to different events at Rutgers to meet people, and I never felt overwhelmed with my course load and work. So I was very fortunate to be able to balance everything out pretty well.
Thank you. So just to go back a little bit to research, I would like to hear from a few of the panelists. What types of opportunities did you get to do out because of your research? So for instance, did any of you get to travel and present at conferences? Were you able to co-author any journals? So any of that, or applied some of your work to your senior design, etc. Katherine and then Cassidy.
Yeah, so I actually got opportunities for submitting papers, and I also, 2 weeks ago, I was supposed to present at the American Chemistry Society conference, which unfortunately got canceled, so they did an online presentation instead. But that was like a really strong thing that I'm able to now put on my resume, which is really good. I was able to see a lot of different presenters and get, like experience, I guess, like understanding, seeing what other kind of research is going on. And I was able to talk to people a little bit online, which was pretty helpful.
How about you, Cassidy?
Yeah, so like I said, I worked with Professor Fennell pretty much all throughout my undergrad, so we became very well acquainted. And in my sophomore year, was it my sophomore year? No, okay, so sophomore year, it's been a while since I graduated. In my sophomore year, I was able to present at 2 conferences. One, the Battelle Conference in Palm Springs, and the other one was the American Society for Microbiology in Boston. And I was able to, and those were 2 poster sessions. That's when people walk around and you have a research poster and you explain your research when somebody comes up to you. And then the next year, so the summer after my junior year, I was able to present a platform session in Miami. So that's when you stand in front of a room of people and you have a PowerPoint and, you talk to a whole room of people. And in both situations, I was able to meet a bunch of different people from my field. So I think the first conference I went to, I was wearing a Rutgers pin, and this guy walks by, and then he stops, and then he walks by and goes, "Oh, you're from Rutgers? I'm from Rutgers. Oh my God, you have to apply to our company." And actually from that connection, I had job interviews, and I ended up going to get my master's instead of working there. But they asked me to interview because they met me at the conference and they thought that what I was doing was very relevant to what their company does. So I was doing bioremediation, and their company remediated sites. So a lot of different opportunities from research. Like was previously stated, people really appreciate that experience. And also through working with Professor Fennell, we submitted a paper and we're waiting to hear back. I also, like I said, had the chance to work abroad, and I did a senior honors thesis through my research in my undergrad.
Thank you. Before we close, Tahani, could you tell us a little bit more about what it was like to work for the Navy, and if any of your Rutgers undergrad experiences helped you, whether it's in your labs or but through RFR, did any of those experiences help you transition into that work environment?
Sure. So I worked at NAVC over the summer, and it was a 10-week internship. And basically, I was assigned to a mentor who was another engineer, and they would give me a project to do over the course of the 10 weeks. And I was able to apply a lot of the technical skills I've learned in class and both on the project team at Rutgers Formula Racing to the project I was working on NAVC, and it definitely was very helpful and definitely impressed a lot of the engineers there, considering I was only a freshman going into the internship. So um, skills that I've learned in things like CAD and then machining, I was able to bring over. And what I ended up working on was a simulation testing environment for a Navy destroyer's control system. So I was able to complete that project, presented it to a panel of engineers, and then I believe they're going to make uh, future production requests for that. So overall, great experience.
Thank you. All right, panelists, I think we're towards the end of our time here. So I'd like to close with a question that we got a lot on in the Q&A, which was, what were some opportunities available, or what are some unique opportunities that are available through your specific majors? So I'm just going to go through the panel order and ask that each of you share some unique elements that you believe your department can offer students when it comes to, you know, doing research or other practical experiences. So we'll start with Edmika.
Something unique to ECE is WinLab, so the Wireless Information and Networking Lab. It's located a little bit off campus, so not on Bush where all the other engineering labs are, but it's all of the staff at WinLab are ECE professors. So not only do you have access to all of the ECE professors' research labs on Bush, but you also have access to the summer internship program at WinLab and just research there during the semester. Also, something unique about electrical and computer engineering is that it opens up the doors for career opportunities in both software and hardware. So for me, I really loved coding, but this major was a really good choice because I could kind of have both sets of knowledge under my tool belt. So I was able to feel confident going into a software engineering kind of role.
Thank you. Cassidy?
Yeah, so environmental engineering is unique in the sense that it is so wide open. The breadth of the scope of what you can cover with it is incredible. So, I mean, it's what I call is like a pick your passion kind of major. And as a result, there's a bunch of interdisciplinary opportunities to look into with it because it's an intersection of a lot of fields. The science of the way the world works, sustainability in design and how we interact with the world. Economics, law, politics, social sciences, making sure there's equal access and environmental health. So research on campus as a result covers a lot of these topics, and you can also work outside of environmental engineering and bring that background into other research. So there's bioremediation, like I said, making sustainable buildings, water resources, which is like sustainable water use and how to handle stormwater and wastewater. Modeling and investigating environmental fate and transport of contaminants. So I know some people in my lab right now are working in microplastics. I've worked in a lab that was looking at toxic compounds. I'm right now writing a literature review on antibiotic resistance genes, looking at climate change. There's also field work and collecting samples too, so that you get every, like, on both ends of the spectrum of dry lab and very wet lab, like you're in a river wet lab. And then in clubs on campus, you have a bunch of people who are really involved and excited about making the world a better place. So there's the Club Seed that I mentioned before. They engage in design competitions. They actually won first prize at an American Waterworks Association competition last year, I think, for building a water filtration system in a bucket. And there's the Rutgers Green Energy Competition where you try to reduce fossil fuels. There's advocacy groups on campus, and then you can also intern. So like I said, it's crazy. You can go, right now I'm interning at New Jersey Department of Environmental Protection. I've known people research or work there as well. People work in consulting, utilities, industry. I mean, you can work all areas of the spectrum. And in the E&R building, they have a posting of all internship opportunities that professors have seen. And they actually will bombard you with emails with different things that have come up to professors. And the professors are really well connected, and environmental engineering is like a really tight-knit group. So as long as you just keep making friends, you know, like networking, I know it sounds like a scary term, but it's literally just making friends and staying connected and being open to new people and new experiences, and you'll go really far. You'll have no problem finding opportunities. Just follow your curiosity and be a go-getter about it, and you'll just run into a bunch of people and a bunch of things that you can do.
Great advice. Katherine.
Yes, so within the mechanical engineering department, there's also a whole lot of opportunities. So for clubs, just off the top of my head, there's Solar Car, there's Rutgers Formula Racing that Tahani mentioned, and there's AIAA, where we build drones, rockets, and planes. For all of these, they're big competition clubs. So you end up going to a competition site where you have sponsors that are helping you build your plane, so you already have company connections from there. And when you go to the events, there are people that try to recruit at all of these different competition events, which is really awesome. So it can really get your foot in the door. Within the department too, for research, there's that famous swimming drone that is being built right now that a lot of people really are excited about, and a lot of companies are hearing about too. We also have a lot of machine shops, and there's lots of different fields within mechanical engineering that you can work with. So for me, I'm doing something that's much more material science related, because it has to do with coding and different, you know, materials that can be used with coding and their properties. But you can also work on things like robotics and flying devices and pretty much anything in between, anything that has a mechanical system involved. And at the same time too, there's different companies that are mechanical engineering related that come to campus. So like Northrop Grumman comes every year for an info session. NASA also funds a fellowship that I'm currently participating in called the NJSGC Fellowship, and they fund your research. So there's a lot of companies that are really involved with the Rutgers Mechanical Engineering Department, and it's really helpful.
Thanks, Katherine. Dahani, I hope you have something to add after that, but we have Christian in between the two of you. Christian, tell us about packaging.
Sure thing. So two things that stand out about the packaging department at Rutgers is the people as well as the job market. So people-wise, our class size is really small. So, and I've seen class sizes between 25 to 40. And I'm talking about like class of 2021, 2022, and all that. So with that small class size, you really get to form real relationships with the students in your major, and they actually help you a lot in your classes as you go on throughout your Rutgers career. And because of such a small class size, the job market for packaging engineers is actually really good for us. So, because not many people are aware of the fact that packaging engineering is a major. So there's actually a lot of demand, but there's a low amount of supply. So a lot of companies actually go to Rutgers seeking these packaging engineers. And so our packaging department actually has really good relations with companies such as Mondelez, Unilever, J&J, Janssen Pharmaceuticals, Estee Lauder, L'Oreal, and many others. We also boast a 100% job placement over the next 6 months following your graduation, which not many other majors can brag about as well.
Thank you. Dahani, is there anything you'd like to add about mechanical and aerospace engineering opportunities?
So for MAE, I think Katherine covered most of it. So I'm just going to stress that I highly recommend looking into project teams. These are all practical experiences and opportunities that will definitely help for both developing as an engineer and for your professional career.
Great tip. Elizabeth.
Yeah, so for chemical engineering, there are a lot of chemical focused clubs. There's ChemiCar, there is, I always say it wrong, but I think it's AICHE, which is the American Institute of Chemical Engineers. And there's a lot of events within the department, like Coffee with the Professors, where students get to meet with their professors every other week. And professors will come in from, graduate degrees, from other undergrad classes. And it's a great way to network within your own department. So I think that that's something very special and unique that Chemi does that I really love. And in terms of research, chemical engineering, We have labs for pharmaceutical research, for nanoparticles and nanomaterials. We have biomedical / biotechnology research, food science, energy, and biofuels. So there's a lot of different research opportunities within Rutgers Chemical Engineering, and a lot of it is cross-disciplinary because chemical engineering has so many different avenues and so many different paths you could take during it. So those are some of the highlights.
Thank you so much. Krishna, tell us about material science and engineering.
Yeah, so one thing that's definitely unique with the MSc department or Material Science and Engineering department is that we bring in about 70% of the research funding. And at Rutgers, we also have the largest research by area as well. So for example, we have the Corning Glass Science and Engineering Laboratory, which is a facility funded largely by Corning Incorporated. And that's a company that influences advanced optics, smart electronics, and other markets. So the research opportunities are almost endless, from biomaterials to ceramics, to polymers, metals, nanomaterials, and solar cells, which is why you'll find that a lot of material science and engineering students end up in almost every industry field for internships, co-ops, and job offers.
Thank you. Madara, how about biomedical engineering?
So for biomedical engineering at Rutgers, one of the unique resources that we have is that one of our faculty members is a professor of practice, and her name is Dr. Labazo. So what this means is that Dr. Labazo, after obtaining her PhD, she went to work in industry before coming back to work as a professor. So one of the roles that Dr. Labazo has as a professor of practice is that her role is setting up a lot of industry connections for us as biomedical engineering students. So she helped set up and run the co-op program that we have specifically for our major, as well as just helping us build up our network and having a LinkedIn page where she can post any job opportunities that she hears about biomedical engineering for us. So it's really great for especially biomedical engineering, where often there's sometimes a stigma or a fear that the major is very research and lab based, that there's also going to be opportunities and help for you to be able to get into industry as well.
Thank you for sharing. Okay, Xiaofang, tell us all about civil engineering.
Yeah, for civil engineering, the unique part is the MOS Day. The one that I attended is the East Access Road Manhattan project. So basically, the MOS Day is something like the MOS Education Committee. It hosted like a annual Students' Day, like year by year, and it is only offered to like students who are like junior, and it's basically an open air walking classroom, which is a unique opportunity for students to see like a firsthand and a complicated and heavy construction job. And the one that I went is the Manhattan. I went to the Grand Central Station in Manhattan, and it was a great construction project. So it's different. It's different in different years. So, but it's only for junior students, and I think it's really unique for civil engineering major.
Yes, I also like to add that civil engineering also has really cool robotics that they're using to test the health of bridges and roads. So the Beast is a really popular one that I would encourage folks to look up and also see on our YouTube channel, and the Rabbit and Thumper, all robotics devices that are able to test the wellness and the condition of bridges and roads without destroying the materials. And I know that Xiaofang has been working in the civil lab and along these lines. So thank you so much for sharing, Xiaofang.
Yes, thank you.
So at this point, I'd like to close and thank everyone for contributing to these stories and answering questions that panelists that participants had asked in the Q&A session. I'd like to encourage everyone to continue to connect with us. And also, if you're interested in joining our departments in chat sessions or info sessions like today, we do have tons of opportunities available to you starting February 7th through February 24th. I'm sorry, April 7th through April 24th. So plenty of opportunities to engage before you make a decision of where you'd like to go for the next 4 years in your college careers. To learn more, just go to soe.rutgers.edu/admitted-students. And if you'd like to continue staying in touch with any of our engineering students, ambassadors specifically, please follow them on Instagram at @RU_engineering experience. You can also email them at ambassador@soe.rutgers.edu. And if you'd like to learn more about them, you can go to their website at soe.rutgers.edu/ambassadors. And we also have a nice breadth of student stories across all 4 years at soe.rutgers.edu/RU-SOE-experience. And like I mentioned before, we also have a YouTube channel where we've had our students generate videos about their research, their internship, their student life, their student orgs. And also we have our department videos there with their work as well. So feel free to subscribe to Rutgers Engineering on YouTube and learn more through video. Okay, so that concludes our session. Thank you everyone for attending. Panelists, you're the best, you're awesome. Thank you so much for sharing your stories and have a great night.